Ye.
This is Yaya Femi.
And we are back with another episode of
The Warlock Horse.
Today we have a special guest. We will be focused on mental health. And since it is mental health awareness, we will be talking about mental health and the healing journey.
Yes.
And we are super grateful to have our first guest here, Miss Jennifer Gray.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell the people who you are.
Sure. So, again, my name is Jennifer Gregg. I'm an author, coach, therapist, teacher, healer bae. I just like, I like inspiring people to live their best life possible.
I love it.
Living and healing.
I love it. And you're so humble. Look, like, check. I love it. Now, can you talk about what brought you into this line of work? What led you into...
Do we have enough time for that?
Brief summary. Probably not in an hour, but brief summary, please.
So I like to joke and say that I've always been a therapist or always been a coach. But so undergrad, I lost my dad suddenly and was kind of forced into corporate America. And I knew I wanted to go back to grad school, but I didn't know what I wanted to major in. And so I started with marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
And when I got the whole gist of the program, I was like, 5 years, no, I'm not going to do that. So I just got my master's in behavioral studies, went back to corporate America, started working for DIFUS or DCP&P, and realized quickly that that was not the sector I wanted to go into. So just through, mentoring, my own therapy, mental health journey, it's interesting how the universe almost paved me back into therapy, because that was my original, and I kind of detoured and got back, and I'm working with kids again. So
it's beautiful. It's crazy. And we were just talking about that on last episode. We were talking about your journey. Everything comes back full circle.
Yeah.
And everything that we learned along the way, it's
all part of the plan.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, thank you for sharing that, your testimony. We are going to kick it off as we usually do with our questions.
Yes.
I'll kick it off with mine, I guess. So we have the topic of protect. What do you do when you feel scared or threatened? And in what kinds of settings do you feel safe to be yourself? Okay, what do I do when I feel scared or threatened? Honestly speaking, I'll say that my reaction wasn't always healthy to fear. I would definitely shut down, push people away. And that stems from not really having a safe place as a younger child and things being taken. So I didn't really have a sense of stability or security. So I felt as though I couldn't really depend. So I would depend on myself and shut down. And that's the way that I learned. But now when I feel scared or threatened, I definitely get present. I get grounded, whether that's meditating, looking in the mirror, inner dialogue. And I let myself know, like, in the present, you are safe. In the present, you are here. There's no immediate threat. And I talk myself through it. And then I'm able to see a solution or a plan to get through that fear. And what kinds of settings do you feel safe to be yourself? Spaces like this.
Yes.
Spaces like this where I'm around conscious people who are emotionally intelligent, who aren't just going to say what comes to mind because they feel like it, even though people are free to speak freely, but people who are considerate of others. I feel very safe in those type of environments, and just calm. I could do the club every now and then, but I feel safest when I'm in these kinds of settings with good people.
Beautiful.
Ja. You?
So like you, my inner child has definitely had a lot of work. And, as a child, I definitely didn't feel safe or stable in a lot of places. And I didn't even have a term or feeling for that until, doing my work. But I would say present day, I default to reaching out to one of my spiritual advisors or I'm an emotional eater.
Okay.
So those are my coping skills. Or I can retreat. I shut down, but in a way where it's like I need self-care. So it's I need to go get my hair done or my nails done, or I'm going to stay in bed a little bit longer. I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to do some cardio. So those are my
when those fears or threats, it's and that's how you ground yourself.
And then also reminding ourselves that there's so much that we cannot control.
Yes.
So why am I going to be fearful of, this move that is out of my control, or these gas prices, or whatever else, because there's nothing we can do about it.
Not a damn thing.
Right. So and I always say we got to ride the waves, because it's going to be highs and lows. So get on that board and surf the waves.
What y'all say? Surfboard.
Yeah.
Hey, I love that mentality.
Yeah. And then what was the second part?
In what kinds of settings do you feel safe to be yourself?
I would agree. Like around, environments like this, and then also my loved ones, my tribe, my circle, the people that I can let my hair down and, take off my mask and, just be Jen.
Yeah. Or Jenny G.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we in these streets.
Genzini. Okay.
All right, Yeezy. What do you do when you feel scared or threatened?
I still do this right now. I disassociate.
Ooh.
Just kind of separate myself from everybody. And it's not anything negative. It's all love. It's nothing personal. I just got to be to myself and recollect and reset, refresh, just so I can be in my safe space.
I love that. So you detach and just get back to you.
Yes.
And that is so important to do that, because when we don't do that, we allow other people's to come in and cloud, and it's like you really have to get in tune with that inner guiding system, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In what kinds of settings do you feel safe to be yourself?
This setting right here, baby.
Safe space.
My tribe.
Come kick it with the warlock
yes.
horse.
My tribe, my good
dangerous.
friends.
That sounds a little risky.
Yo,
y'all.
for real. Nah, for real. This circle, my close friends, family, just so I can be myself. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we got that in common. All right.
Yeah.
What you got over there?
I have identity. Describe who you are. How would your friend describe you, your teacher or your parents? I'm crazy.
Accountability.
I'm crazy. That's how they'll describe me. Yeah, she's a little crazy. She's very resilient. I get that a lot too.
Resilient?
Yes, I get that.
How do you receive that? Because I've heard people say, like, I'm tired of hearing, like, I'm strong. I'm tired of being strong and resilient.
Yes.
So how does that hit you when you hear that?
I think of it as a compliment, and like I want to say it's an insult because people don't know, but yeah, I guess you could say I can withstand a lot of crazy situations, but I'm not the strongest person in the world. I shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to. Like it's okay to be vulnerable and break down and cry and curl up in a ball. And,
Definitely.
Yeah, like it's okay.
That's healing. That's release.
Yeah.
So that's so most people would refer to you as crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But
goofy,
crazy as in like, okay, goofy like
crazy.
outgoing.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful. I'll take that any day.
Y'all out there, y'all know I'm a little cuckoo.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
The second part of the question is think of two people you know. What do you have in common with them? What makes each one of you unique? What do you have in common with them? I'll start with you. Shoot, you goofy with me.
We are.
You goofy with me. You and my bestie Ashley. Hey girl.
Hey Ashley.
Listen, we're chill. We have a chill side. We got a nice little unique side. We keep it real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say y'all too.
Dope. I'm honored to be on that list.
Yes.
Let me see.
Uh-huh.
So we have identity. Describe who you are. How would your friend? Okay. I think there's so many different. I believe my parents today, and this is sad to say, I don't even know if they can really speak to who I am, because I am very protective, or just, I keep a lot of things to myself. I show up when I can show up, and sometimes they don't understand why I'm not showing up so much. So they might say that I'm distant. My friends, they would say the total opposite. They might say sometimes we can't have access to her, but when Carmen shows up, she shows up. My teachers, they would say I was bright, but I was disruptive. And it's crazy because I'm here now and I'm still a little disruptive, but just more conscious and intentional.
With the calls.
Right?
With the
Rebel
calls.
with the calls. Think of two people you know. What do you have in common with them? What makes each one of you unique? Unique. I'm gonna use both of y'all. So Jenny G, something that we have in common is our self-awareness. Like on our journey together. Jenny G, she gave y'all the humble rundown of who she is and what she does, but I know Jenny G personally. She has actually worked with me and my family and helped me during a time of a transition, supported me on my journey with my children. Had a nonprofit. Like it was a lot of things. Yeah. So I can say that our self-awareness and our dedication to our goals, we have that in common. I have that in common with you too. Me and you are both like, that's right, girl. Hit him with the Squidward arms. My son be hitting that dance. I'm gonna say me and you, I feel like we are like, and not to say that you are not, because you take risks too. You started your entrepreneur journey, but I feel like me and you have like this warrior, like spirit of like we're not gonna give up. Like we're gonna go for it and we're gonna show up in that way. Yeah, like we kind of carry that strength. I see that in you. Yeah, that's what I see in common with you too.
Yeah.
You. All right. So describe who I am. I am.
Ooh, wait, Jenny, I gotta interrupt you.
Okay.
Did y'all peep how the question is describe who I am or who other people view you? We both led with how others view us, and you just straight said, "Fuck all that.
I am.
All
right."
Thank you, seed perspective. Thank you.
But sis, it does say that.
It does say that. It does say it. But our brains latched on to what others thought, and you were so grounded in that, and you said, well, let me tell you who I am first, okay, before I get to others. So I just salute. I see you.
I see you.
Thank you.
I see you too.
Yeah, I see you.
Thank you.
Describe who I am. I am a life learner. I am a daughter, sister, lover, friend, teacher, therapist, author, godmom, auntie. Yeah. It's just, I'm here. I'm here in this journey. How would your friend describe you? Present day or 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Because,
I heard stories, honey. Levels.
It's levels to this, okay? I would think my friends would say that, and it's interesting, I've had some conversations lately. I would think they would say, I'm supportive, hopefully non-judgmental. I create a safe place for them to, explore whatever they're feeling. Loving, I show up. My teacher, I feel like my teachers felt like I, got the work done, came to class. And parents, I know my dad is very proud of me, even in his earthly absence. And my mom always says that I'm very organized. So,
and we'll take that as a compliment, Mom.
I don't, it's really hard to get much more out of her, but okay. I have that footage on my 30th birthday video, so we're going to go with that.
Yeah. That was a part of the speech? Like, baby, you so organized.
Yeah, literally. And her accent said, Jennifer is, very organized.
What? You are is a Liberian
yes.
descent? How did I remember that? Yes. I'm a good listener.
So I said, okay, thanks, sis. All right. Think of two people you know. So I'll use you two ladies. My fellow Aqua.
Hey.
Aquarius.
And Carm, we are complete opposites in terms of zodiac.
Yeah.
But we balance each other out. Definitely. And we knew each other from years back through, Cookouts. Mutual friends or whatever, and just kept in touch over the years over social media, and grateful. Like I think we see friendship and relationships the same way.
Yes.
And that's huge, especially in this day and age. So I love and appreciate that about you. You're welcome.
I think what you're saying is just the high regard and respect, but not the high maintenance and the understanding and flexibility. But every time we come around, it's like love.
Like we never lost a beat.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you ain't call me.
I'm not going to do that to you. Listen to that voice. You ain't call me.
I'm sorry, I'm over here doing life. You're not,
Right.
you know,
We
like
doing life, honey.
I can't.
I'll pull up in my spaceship and check you out in yours when I got time.
It's not like we don't check in or have dates in between, but it just is what it is. So
I love our voice clips.
I love them, and she just has the most beautiful voice. You know, she sent me this very beautiful birthday serenade, and you know, so those are those are the part of the things that like make our friendship unique.
I'm grateful for you.
Our sisterhood.
So yeah. There you go. Here we go. And that wraps up our segment of the cards. We have to come up with a catchy name for this, y'all.
Right.
Because we do it every time. We cut down on the cards because we realized we was running 20 minutes into the damn show, but you know, we tightening up. And as you can see, we are in a new environment.
Yes.
Okay, this is our guest studio. So when we have guests, which we will have plenty of episodes with new guests, but we'll be in this space and we are grateful for this opportunity to be expanding, right? You see us, you see us. We're going to kick it off with the topics, mental health and the healing journey. Why is mental health stigmatized? Ladies? Why
for me?
and how? Yes.
I think historically, in the minority community, you were considered crazy. And who doesn't have that crazy auntie or uncle, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, as a mental health professional, we now know that, or I now know that these are undiagnosed people struggling with, you know, deeper issues. I mean, I think back to childhood and all the family members that were considered, like I said, crazy or weird or don't go around them. I now have a term for whatever they were dealing with, you know.
What's that term?
I know some were bipolar. I know some were schizophrenic.
Got
you
it.
know, there's levels to those as well. And, you know, you didn't go to the therapy or the counselor because you were considered crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's my opinion of why the minority community specifically strays from mental health. And
it's
just
that label, that treatment. Why is it stigmatized? I agree with your answer as far as why it's stigmatized. I think from my experience back in the day, before I even started this journey, myself personally, when I would hear the word mental health, I automatically assumed or associated illness. But now after, you know, studying herbs and anatomy and things like that, it's everybody, it's health,
right?
Just like gut health or skin health. You do your skin routine, the brain is a part of our makeup. So it's not about having an illness. It's just the overall health, the overall.
And we shouldn't have to wait until it becomes ill to take care of it.
Just like you go to your primary doctor, your dentist, your gynecologist, your OBG.
It's the same thing.
You have to, it's a brain. It's a muscle. You have to exercise it.
And I feel like if people understood that more and looked at it for mental health comes from the brain, that's brain health, neuro, you know, then people wouldn't look so, it's like, let's take care of that.
Yeah. I will say though, I feel like this generation more, and then with the onset of COVID and just, you know, everything going on in the world, I think it's more accepted than ever.
Yes, definitely.
It's more talked about than ever. It's more, I mean, because I know I'm inundated. I know all my fellow therapists are inundated. I know my personal therapist is inundated. So I think COVID was one of those things that like pushed it more into full gear of, you know.
Because it made us all sit still, and that's when it's all coming to the surface.
And so many people were, you know, not okay and still not okay. And I think for years to come will not be okay.
Yeah. But we're cleansing it out. We're cleaning the wound. What about you, Yayeezy? What are your thoughts on the stigmatized mental
Even
health?
with something simple as like anxiety, you're considered being dramatic. I used to get that a lot. Oh, you're just being dramatic. Even when I have my heart palpitations, like I get panic attacks. So I have like a panic disorder, and I mentioned it before, and I never really like try to see what was going on with me because I was told that maybe you're just being a little dramatic, or maybe you need to sit your ass down somewhere. So that things with ADHD, especially in our community, ADHD, no, it just means that you're bad as hell and you need your ass beat.
That was
what I
my
mean?
experience.
So those are ways that it can be stigmatized.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
What affects mental health? What are things that we can share with our viewers to let them know how they may be affecting their mental health positively and negatively?
So the three things that make up, think of a Venn diagram. You have your biological, your social, and your psychological. So your biological is, does my mom and dad have, or, other family members have mental, and I always ask my clients that, like, what is was there mental illness on mom's side, dad's side, whatever. Then your social, like, what's going on at home?
Yeah.
Are you living in a toxic environment? And then your psychological, which is like your self-esteem and how you cope with life, your resiliency, all that. And then it just, like I said, think of a Venn diagram. So
Venn diagram.
So, the optimal health is not only the absence of illness being there, but your resilience to pop back into being well, as you say. So when you have, let's say you're well, but you have stress on the job and, your uncle was undiagnosed bipolar and now you're, 20 something and now you're seeing signs of like, well, my uncle used to go through this. Like it could just be anything that, and sometimes I see it in my own family where something might have not been present as a kid, but now as an adult, there's an onset of it, So, and this is
and
again,
the body keeps score. It's going to come out one way or the other.
So this is again why it's so important to, keep a check on not just your, like I said, your physical health, but your mental
health. Yeah, definitely. Things that I believe affect the mental health, environment. I definitely speak to environment. I feel like environment will make or break a person, if they are not in tune with who they are and where they want to go. But some people get caught up in their environment and they don't realize that there is more out there. So they settle and then it takes a toll. They find unhealthy ways to cope because, so environment matters. Feng shui, Zen, things like that, fountains, lighting, colors in your room, all those things matter. Levels, sound, like, did I say lighting? Lighting matters. Fluorescent lights can be stressful. That's why they say get out, get vitamin D, sunshine. Something else that definitely affects the state of a person's mental health is their diet. A lot of people, they go to the doctors to get the medicine, and I'm not against the medicine. However, I know that there are other avenues to take before getting there. Some people, and again, disclaimer, I am not a professional. I do not say food substitutes, anything else. Definitely seek professional help if you're looking for that. But there are foods that are scientifically proven to elevate mood or help you adapt to stress. Herbs, adaptogens. That's what they're called, adaptogens. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, things like that can help, I guess not such a resiliency, but they help your body bounce back on a hormonal level. So you may be in a stressful situation, but because your body has more, what do I call them? More of these properties in it because of the things you're taking, the food, the vitamins, the nutrition, you won't react with the cortisol and the adrenaline and boost your blood pressure up because it's you're taking care of it in a way. So definitely food and environment affect your mental health.
I used to fast just to get some mental clarity too.
Yeah,
I don't recommend fasting for everyone because everyone health wise exactly. So I used to do that. I used to do intermittent fasting. I used to feel so clear in the morning.
Me too. Powerful.
Very powerful.
What else? You're a trainer, so I know that some mental health benefits that have to do with like the physical
exercise. Definitely exercise. I tell people that all the time. It releases endorphins, gets you in a different environment, and a motivating environment too. And I do that like 4 or 5 days a week. So that's the only thing that keeps me sane. But I feel like one of the things that do affect your mental health is upbringing.
Definitely.
Upbringing, like some people, like some of us, we grew up in some hostile environments, and that created a lot of trauma because they experienced their trauma. They pass it down to us. I mean, I don't resent my parents because they had some shit that they had to heal from. So I have to heal from it too. So definitely upbringing.
For sure.
So we have to, treat our kids like they're actual human beings and not take our traumas out on them.
Yeah. I think speaking on that with the parenting and the root of it, treating them like humans, also understanding as we get, because I struggle with this. Like you said, there's no resentment, but I did go through a period where I couldn't understand, like, how could you? And that would become my obsessive compulsive thought, which would give away my power. Because now I'm looking for answers as to why you treated me a certain way and why couldn't you love me differently. But now it's like, I don't even analyze that because, like you said, their upbringing has affected the way that they're doing it. So all we can do is, you know, accept their journey, set the boundary, and not, I don't want to say blame, not blame, but definitely look inward.
Right.
Look inward.
Okay, ladies, can I offer something that's been very beneficial to me on my healing journey with my parents?
Yes, please.
And I talk about this in my book, The Choice is Yours. So, yes, our parents definitely have their own trauma, right? Which definitely reflected on us. But two things that I've done in my healing journey: take away the title of parents and look at our parents as just human beings.
Yeah.
Or look at them as the children that experience trauma, right? And that kind of humanizes things, right? And then, and sidebar, I will never tell you you're wrong for how you're feeling. Your feelings are valid. Your experiences are valid. I'm not taking away. I'm just offering what has helped me in my healing journey. Second, my father passed away, and so a lot of my healing work with him had to be, you know, spiritual. As my mom is the only living parent I have currently, I've had to mourn who I want my mother to show up as.
That's deep. That's deep.
And accept her for who she continues to show up as.
Can you repeat that again?
I had to mourn who I want my mother, or that mother relationship that I long for, or in my opinion, I want, or what that looks like for me, and accept her for who she continues to show up as. That was a huge shift in my life.
Yeah.
So that was creating healthy boundaries for me. That was loving and respecting her for who she is. That was me traveling to Liberia to see literally where she came from.
Wow.
That was, you know, constant therapy for me. It's levels to this healing thing. It is levels, you know? But, you know, just trying to understand, and then, you know, doing family research, talking to my aunts, talking to cousins, talking to my mom, even when it's uncomfortable and ugly, and, you know, and sometimes you have to take breaks, and I'm quick to give people timeouts. I will say that, but that's for my own, mental
boundaries.
Exactly. But that's all a part of the healing journey. So I want to offer that to you. I don't know, obviously, the ins and outs of your situation with your parents, and once again, your feelings are valid, your experiences are valid. But yeah, if we could just take that, because I think we look at our parents as like superheroes, or, you know, you were supposed to do this, you were supposed to do that. And I argue that every single one of us has mommy daddy issues, even if both of our parents were in our lives. Because there's something that somebody thought that should have done this way, or I think you should have done this, or you know,
coulda, woulda. And it's all the experience. We have to see the lesson in hindsight, and like you said, accept them, but create a healthy environment for ourselves, a healthy relationship for ourselves.
For sure.
Dope,
like that.
dope.
Yep.
Did you have anything to add to that? All right, we're gonna move right on along. Types of mental health conditions and symptoms. I like that. I like that we are about to break it down from personal experience and professional experience, because, you know, we're not just out here talking stuff, talking shit. Okay, we can cuss. It's professional. We'll make sure the people don't see. The people who don't need to see. Who wants to kick it off? Mental health conditions and symptoms.
Hi, my name is Yaya. I have high functioning depression. I have anxiety. I'm pretty sure I have a panic disorder too, because I get a panic attack like once a month. So
you threw me off with the entrance, Yaya, now, because I'm sitting here smiling, and then you go for it, and I'm like,
literally
oh shit.
A representation of a high functioning depression. You know what I mean? Like,
I love your realness. Thank
you. Like, you would never know I have depression unless I tell you.
And honestly, most people do. So thank you for your transparency.
I learned that about depression and anxiety when people, like, again, when it's stigmatized. I read a book called The Wisdom of Anxiety. And basically what I understood is anxiety, it's a spectrum. It's like a check engine light. Like every car has a check engine light. When you're experiencing anxiety, it is your body's check engine light coming to inform you need to do a diagnostic test and take a look at what you're doing.
Yep.
Because you need to make a change somewhere. And then once you also on the spectrum, it means you're not trusting yourself. There's something within you that you're not trusting. And the more that you do practices to build that trust within yourself, the more you'll notice that anxiety. You'll be able to manage it better because like depression, we all have it. We all have that anxiety as well.
Oh yeah.
Mental health conditions and symptoms. What are some symptoms with that high functioning depression?
So before I started therapy, I would disassociate from everything. I didn't have a sense of time. And I noticed that about my depression. I didn't have a sense of time. I would be like behind on bills, behind on like appointments and stuff like that. It took me a while to like really get it together. I would pretty much just stay in my bed all day. I used to do that, not talk to anybody. I would skip meals. I've done that. Another one that I really sat and reflect on recently was like short-term memory loss. So I do have short-term memory loss. There's some like bits and pieces of my life that I really kind of don't remember like that.
I share that journey.
And I noticed that when I have like my panic episodes, I'll start forgetting like certain things like my PIN number, my phone number, like little dumb stuff that I'll forget. Like it's like my brain will stop working during certain episodes.
Mental health.
Yeah. With anxiety, I do get a little irritable sometimes. Sometimes I get a little combative, things like that. So like panic attacks, we're not always like balling up in a corner crying. Sometimes we just get a little angry over like the dumbest stuff and we'll take it out on you. We'll take it out of materialistic things. And I've had broken shit before. I have hit people before, like I've gotten violent. So yeah, those are like one of the symptoms I experience.
I am so happy for your journey and your progress. So I'm not gonna say overcoming, but managing and becoming aware.
A lot better now. Yeah, like I came a long ass. Give it up. I came a long way. Like I still have my little episodes here and there because that's just how it is. But now I cope with it a lot better. Now I know how to manage it and I can handle it in a lot healthier way and not taking it out on other people or myself.
And that's one thing I want to highlight. You just said something. It comes down to coping.
Yeah.
When we talk about everybody having depression, everybody having anxiety, everybody this can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this show and you're like, well, I don't have a diagnosis. No, but you very easily could if you don't take care of your brain. Yeah. And the coping is what it all comes down to. You are going to have those days. You are going to have these feelings because it's a big spectrum. Look up the feeling wheel. Yeah. Look it up. It's categorized, break it down. It tells you, it helps you learn about yourself, but it's the coping that keeps it safe, that keeps it healthy. Yeah. The coping, how you cope. Yeah. Wanted to highlight that.
Can I tell y'all a dream that I had?
Sure.
So with depression, right? I was at my lowest point. And I'm not suicidal. Like I never attempted suicide before, but with depression, you may not even be suicidal, but you may not value your life. Like you don't care what happens to you. Yeah. I'm like, well, if I die, then whatever, I die. And that was my mindset. I had a dream one night. This was some, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I said in my dream that I wanted to kill myself. I don't know why. And I never thought that before, but I guess subconsciously I probably felt that way. There was a voice in my head that told me, write your obituary. It told me to write my obituary. And you know how obituary goes when you write down that you passed away and you write down your accomplishments and all the people that survived. And like, so I wrote all that and like it instantly changed my mind.
I love that.
Yeah,
that
like it was
powerful.
weird. Like I don't know if that's like maybe like that should be a practice
that's powerful.
Or something, but
definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It was like so well detailed, like my obituary and everything. When I woke up, like I mean, I was just like, what?
It's like your subconscious, because you said you were careless. It was like your subconscious was screaming to you, self-neglect. Do I have value? But you doing the obituary gave you in your mind a sense of value. Who are you? And that is something to live for.
Yeah.
Is everything to live for. I can speak to anxiety. High functioning. I haven't been diagnosed, but because I am very reflective and maybe aware, me and Lionel talk about this often, hyper aware, and that could be to a fault because of my trauma. But my high functioning anxiety is what I'll call it. I get overwhelmed. When you feel a sense of overwhelmed in a sense of like needing to control. Like if you look at my Google Calendar, if you look in my home, people come and be like, it's so tidy in here. That is my anxiety. That is me trying to control my environment so that I feel safe and secure, and I know things are going to go exactly how I expect them to go, because if they don't, and it's not as bad as it used to be because coping, right?
Yeah.
But if they don't go, then it's like I'm thrown off. I'm overwhelmed. I'm ruminating and trying to figure out, well, how did this happen? And that will send you stir crazy into a very low place. Now, what I do...
I wish I was tidy.
That is another symptom too. Some depression, you don't care, and you just let it go. Me, I clean, and that is one of my copings. And it may be,
you want to switch symptoms,
right? If we could trade symptoms, I guess there are
just
some healthy, toxic
I got
ones.
Shit to do.
That's the duality of it. But that is a symptom. That was a symptom, and then feeling overwhelmed, feeling very overwhelmed to where it's like now I'm irritable with my children. You know, everybody has to go to their rooms now because mommy needs a minute. And to me, that may seem controlling, but it's me keeping them safe and keeping myself safe, because I'm no good to nobody when I'm in that state. And I meditate. I light some Palo Santo. I get recentered and stuff. And then I'm able to cope with whatever stressful situation it is. But that is that's my experience with anxiety and the symptoms.
I just want to salute you for that, because I can't speak to y'all's upbringing, but I know that when my parents got overwhelmed, it was a yell.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to salute you for changing the narrative.
Yeah. And I know you've seen it. You've been in my home. Like it is trying, and my kids will go and get loud. And it's like, I have to remember, and I'll even say it to them. And sometimes I'm questioned. People are like, why do you give them so many explanations? I'm like, because they're humans and they're smart as fuck.
Yes.
And they know I got an attitude, but they're going to feel like it's their fault. So I'll say it out loud.
With them.
I'll be like, baby, I know it looks like I'm really annoyed right now, but I need you to know I am annoyed, but it's not your fault. I'm just in a bad mood. And they'll get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I can't tell you that I've learned that from my parents, because I would get popped upside the head, or I stayed on punishment.
Yeah, same.
I was always on punishment. Couldn't do shit until they had to
go to your room and think about what you did.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about it. Can I come out now?
Right. Right. That's crazy. Now, Jenny G, what do you have to speak to as far as conditions and symptoms?
So
you probably tell us a book, girl.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'll say my first, I think, depression. So my mental health journey I kind of slipped into it. I went to therapy thinking I was going to grieve my father. And the first therapist I saw, I went with my mom and my sister, and she looked at my mom and my sister and said, your daughter's tank is on E, and if someone doesn't fill it up soon, it's not going to be good. So that was my first battle with depression that I can remember. I definitely think there was depression before, because it runs in my family, undiagnosed. But that was the first time that I could put a memory on it. So I was very depressed in that time. So I think I was like 21-ish, around that time, 21, 22, sleeping 16, 18 hours a day, not eating, losing weight. It was just really bad. And I don't even remember how I got it. I think I went back to school. I think it was like a winter break, and then I went back to school and just kind of like got out of it. Anxiety, I would say, started in childhood. Didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
And it came with just various moves. And they were kind of like fire drill moves. Like, you come home from school, all right, we need to pack everything up. But you mean this whole house?
Yeah. Wow. Your nervous system.
Overnight?
Your nervous system,
you know?
I couldn't imagine.
So I think, yes, and that's why I said I didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
But if I think back, that's when my anxiety started.
Flight or fight, like constant.
Exactly. And
That'll do
so
some damage.
Present day, you know, times like now during the retrograde, like now that I'm in tune with my spirituality, I can kind of tell what kind of day I'm going to have. I feel it.
Yes.
I feel it. And so this week in particular, I've had some bouts with anxiety. And those days were proven to be challenging with clients. So it's like, again, your check engine light is on.
Yeah.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah. I have the I'll share it on my story, y'all. If y'all tap in after the episode, I'll go ahead and take a picture of the title of that book so y'all could tap in, because that changed my perspective on anxiety. I'm like, what do you mean? We all have it? It's a spectrum. You know? So it's tough. It's tough to point at yourself and say, wow, that might be what I'm experiencing. But once you own it and you accept that this might be an effect of something, then you're able to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I also wanted to talk about, we talked about schizophrenia and things like that. And then you also talked about like going to Liberia and checking out culture. I want to tie in, and you just said spiritual, like you being on your spiritual journey. There are us here in the West world, America, you know, in the Eastern world, you know, India, the Hindu is like the way that they practice. There's shamanism. There's shamans where, you know, if you bring them here, the doctors are going to say you're hearing voices, you're schizophrenic. But there is a spiritual element of self introspection and learning yourself and learning about who and what you are and everything that goes on within. It could be crazy and considered crazy, but it is also a magical element there that gives you guidance if you know how to balance the voices.
Yeah.
Because everybody, I don't care what you say, if you're like,
Everyone
I don't
has
hear
an
voices. Yes, you do. Your thoughts are voices because they just pop up in your head, intrusive or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's the brain. The brain is going to do what the brain does. It's a thinking machine.
Yeah.
So it could be schizophrenia, or it could be your intuition screaming out saying, we need to change something. Or it could be crazy dreams that seem very scary. It's your subconscious like, there's something here happening.
That's so interesting you say that, because I think that's a challenge of the work that I'm currently doing, because I do subscribe to spirituality, and sometimes I see these babies, they're saying they're seeing, you know, their dead relative, or they're hearing this, and you know, I try to remain neutral. I don't do religion and any of that with my families, but I do believe some of these babies, and it puts me in a weird position when, you know, parents want to medicate their kids.
And you want to protect them.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's one of those things where like sometimes, I'm just like you, Carm. I'm not for or against. I think I look at it as a tool. If you can use that tool to help you get over a hump or whatever, then yes. And I do what's best for you. Everyone should do what's best for them.
Yes.
No judgment.
Yes.
You know, so, but that's definitely a very challenging element of my work right now, because I do have kids that I feel are gifted. I feel like, you know, they're probably going to be the future spiritualists, psychics, all these
like
things.
A business idea to me. It sounds like we need to start the X-Men University out here.
You know, I mean, because
you
know, I personally watched, you know, the Monica the Mediums and Tyler the Medium, and I believe, you know, even in the church, I was raised in a church, just like you have prophets and you know, seers and all. It's the same thing. It's just we're just calling it different names.
Yes, I am a firm believer of that as well, and I also think that what you eat, the environment you're in, the same thing that has to do with mental health. And that's the thing that I'm learning about spirituality and manifestation and everything. It all starts in the mind and the heart, your emotional state. It's like an antenna.
Absolutely.
It's like if your emotional state is grounded, yes, you're dealing with the tribulations, you're feeling stressed, but the way that you can control your what is it, physiology, your biology, and put your emotional state into like a place of acceptance and calm and forward, what's next, it's like miracles happen.
It's so true.
But that's your mental health. That's mental awareness. And it has to do with what you're eating. It's like you become more sensitive to the spiritual principles because of the things you're putting in your body, the environment you're in. So it's all tied together.
For sure.
The mental health and the spirituality. It's like, we could call it, in the medicine world, we'll call it mental health, but it is spirituality. It's getting to know yourself on many levels. And they say the brain is like the most like there's so many things that we do not know about the human mind that they're still trying to unlock and figure out now. You know, the pineal gland, and like they're just now releasing studies that prove that there's something more. There's a guidance. And it may be a voice, or it may be visions, or you might see numbers, or you might see animals, or you might have dreams. And these are all associated with mental health, but these are tools to figure out and decode what it is that's happening in your life. So, yeah. I just went off on a tangent, didn't I? I was excited.
I mean, you had so many things that I have like side, like
do it.
So the one thing is, whenever God, universe, whoever you want to call it, has a message for me, I'm waking up between 4, 5, 3, sometimes 3. So yeah, that's very real. It happens to my sister as well. Just is what it is. I mean, you guys can call it what you want. People can have their own beliefs.
Right.
I respect whatever. Love
All
is
respect.
love. But yeah, for me in my house, this is what we believe. So.
In my house, it getting mystical up in this bitch, okay? We mystical, okay? And we know something bigger happening here.
A couple of things I wanted to say. Mental illness is treatable. It does not discriminate.
Yeah, that's right.
It takes many forms, and nearly 1 in 5, that's 19%, of U.S. adults experience some form of mental illness.
Wow.
Okay, let's get to stats, y'all. Let's get to stats. What are some stats when we're talking about mental health?
So I just gave you those. And then most mental illnesses begin by the age of 24.
Wow.
So do we want to go into the 5 major categories?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's educate the people.
So there's mood disorders, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, dementia, schizophrenic, and psychotic disorders. So anxiety, we talked about excessive fears. That would also include like phobias. And then mood disorders. So you might have persistent mood swings that interfere with daily life. An example of that is bipolar. And then there's levels to being bipolar, you know. And that can also, depression can also fit in that category. Then there's psychotic disorders, i.e. schizophrenia, and then eating disorders, so bulimia, anorexia. Impulse disorders, unable to resist urges.
Addiction.
Addiction's huge. Gambling, OCD, which would fit under personality disorders. And then post-traumatic stress.
And I feel at this point, everybody, and that's the thing, like I want to really reiterate. I would like to reiterate. Like I figured it out.
I wanted to
y'all.
help you.
I don't need no help.
And I was like,
I do it by myself.
I want to help you, sis.
I know.
But
I was like,
you ain't giving me the alley.
Reiterate. I want to reiterate. It is treatable. All of this is treatable, and nobody is safe. Nobody can run from these realities. You may be on your high horse figuring it out, but it will come knocking if you are not taking time to really reflect and see how you're living, if it's intentional, because these things, something as simple as OCD, which is just compulsive. Why am I doing this? What is making me search Google for this so many times in a day? Why do I keep on ruminating these compulsive behaviors that we do? People may not see that as a mental a symptom. They're just like, no, this is happening in my life right now. They're not seeing it as like I'm obsessing and not seeing the next step. Yeah. So it's very easy to just dismiss things that are happening, symptoms. You know, and we don't make time for these things because in our culture it's go.
Right.
So yeah.
I wanted to also say, Yaya, you talked about your experience, right? And then your parents' trauma. So if they didn't have the tools to help themselves, I'm sure it was very difficult for them to, and what they knew was, oh, you bad or you're acting up. Go sit in the corner versus, and this is no disrespect or, judgment towards your parents, because once again, they were using the tools they had,
right?
And I always commend parents now when they're getting help for their children, because I'm like, you're breaking the cycle, you're giving the child the support they need. And a lot of my kids, after the program's over, they're good. Not to say they're perfect, but it's giving them that extra whatever that they needed to figure out whatever. They're giving them the tools to move forward, and you're okay. And it's not and even putting these labels or these diagnosis on a lot of it keeps people in a boxes where I look at it as at least I know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
For right now.
and then you can gain the tools and the coping mechanisms and identify your triggers and, you know, move forward in this journey the best you can.
That's true.
What about you, Yaya? You have any statistics or any numbers or anything?
I don't have any statistics, but I do want to talk about suicide because I feel like now it's a growing rate.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's a growing rate, especially because of COVID.
Yeah.
I feel like it just kind of just triggered a lot of people's emotions, and you see a lot of things on the news like this year. Like I can't think of her name. She was a young girl too. She was like 30 years old.
She
jumped
Miss
out.
America.
She jumped out of
Oh.
her window. Regina King's son committed suicide. They just mentioned Naomi Judd. She shot herself in the head.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And
People are just not okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, and unfortunately will not be okay for a very long time. Like I think we're going to see the residual effects of this for years to come.
yeah.
And you know what? I feel like this is a perfect time for us to pivot into the other half of this episode, and that is the healing journey. And that is, doesn't it just feel good, the healing journey?
Yes, I like it here.
I like it here.
Right.
I said that today on Facebook too. I was like, I like it here. Intuition on point, discernment on point. Yeah, I like it here.
Come on.
The healing journey. So we talk about the state of the world and how everybody is experiencing some sense of trauma, whether it's from things that have happened already, generational, whether it's, you know, work environment, there's stressors all day long, things that you may not even be aware that's happening in your body. So I think I really push the subject of knowing your anatomy and physiology and hormones and nervous system, because that is like the ticket to really beginning to heal, learning who and what you are. You are a machine, and we know that machines can be operated to work in a good way. Like a car, we take care of our car, we get the oil changed. So once we tune into our bodies, I feel like that really kicks off a healing journey. That's my opinion. But also I feel like we need to know when to stop and go outside. To me, nature has been very healing for me on my journey, connecting with nature, recognizing the cycles of nature, the cycles of the seasons, and just kind of like mirroring this, honoring the seasons and as they change. When it's winter, I know it's time to go inward and reflect, and you know, I get a little sad, the winter blues they call it. When the spring is coming up, I know it's time to stretch and get ready to shake things out and clean and birth new ideas. So it's like using nature, getting outside. They say scientifically, putting your feet on the grass, grounding, being in the sunshine, being next to water helps release the salt. You know, like there's definitely resources outside in the world, in nature. You know, I really believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, I shut up now.
I love being by water. That's my like self-care. Any being anywhere by water. And if I can't be on vacation, I usually like drive to a waterfront.
Girl, and Jenny G stay on vacation. Make sure y'all follow Jenny G. We're gonna drop some @names and stuff y'all can see on the screen. This is post site, okay? Because you know this is recorded. But Jenny G, that's something that I respect about you. You definitely take the time and you make time for yourself. I see you in the slides, with the views, you in Egypt, you everywhere.
You have to.
Yes.
You know, and really quick, you mentioned something about the Western world. So I was very blessed to visit India pre-COVID. And, you know, I visited some temples and some mosques and some Buddhist temples. Wow. And, you know, I got to see where, how they used to tell the seasons and, you know, astrology. And it just makes so much sense. And it's so magical just being in those temples. I mean, obviously I don't subscribe to those religions, but just in love and peace, you know, experiencing that. And like, I would just get chills. Yeah. You know,
it's bigger.
Bigger than us, honey. Bigger than us. Bigger than us.
Yeah. So Jen, if you can give us a little bit more detail about your healing journey and things that you can share with our viewers, things that they can start today.
Okay.
Things that they can do today.
Very simply, healing is a journey, not a destination. So many people want a start stop. That's not it, you know. Or people say, I went to therapy for 3 times and I'm healed.
Right.
Ooh, we just had a conversation about that word healed.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's my one of my favorite words.
Right.
Okay. No judgment, but give yourself grace and compassion, because whatever you're dealing with, I'm sure took more than 3 times to unravel.
Yeah.
You know, I started therapy over 13 years ago and still in therapy. And your seasons of life change. So maybe what I was talking about 13 years ago is not what I'm talking about today.
Yes.
Also, another gem. I tried therapy. It's not for me. I don't like my therapist. If your barber messes up your hairline, if your hairstylist cuts your hair or dyes it the wrong way, you're going to find a new one. If your nail tech chips your cuticle the wrong way,
Jenny.
you're going to find a new nail
Yeah.
tech. Be your own advocate. Find a therapist that works for you, that feels good, that you feel
Custom.
safe with. And keep finding one until you feel good.
Yeah.
The help is out there. The choice is yours, though.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. The choice is yours.
Shameless plug. No, that really is choice. It's up to us. That is so empowering to hear. The choice is mine. Healing is in my hands. And healing looks different for everybody. I want to reiterate that.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about me going outside or going to therapy, therapy is great. Going outside is great. One may not be for you. That's okay. But do something. Take the initiative. Make the choice to begin.
So in addition to therapy, having multiple coaches, like a life coach, a business coach, a spiritual coach, taking classes, doing my work. Doing my work is crying, purging, journaling, having difficult conversations, looking at myself in the mirror, calling my own self out on my own shit. You know, having to lose certain relationships.
Ooh, that's the stuff they don't talk about. The things you have to lose.
And you know what? I think I did a video maybe a couple weeks ago. I don't know if I posted it yet or not. Oh yeah, I think I did. But the healing journey can be very lonely.
Yes.
Very isolating.
Yeah.
And that's part of the process, right? So trust the process, because when before a butterfly becomes a butterfly, when you're in that cocoon, you're in there by yourself.
Ooh, I saw a post on Facebook too. Another friend, a mutual friend. I don't know if it's mutual, but a friend of mine, the butterfly, the cocoon. Also, it takes time, and it's not a pretty process.
It's not.
You think it just goes in there, and then all of a sudden, poof, wings. It's It's gooey. It's shedding. It probably looks like mush.
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's you're forming.
Yes.
You're transforming. You're alchemizing your struggle into something greater.
Yep.
Also, you know, I mean, I have analogies for days. Think about how mountains are formed: wind, rain, ice storms, thunder, dust.
Forged.
Yes. And then the beautiful mountain. So, you know, think of yourself as, you know, this strong mountain that's just going to withstand all these.
And mountains aren't perfect. They got cracks. Okay, bugs.
Yep.
Okay.
Snow.
They're beautiful.
Dirt.
But they not. It's not a perfect, clean.
They might
square
have
structure.
stuff growing out of them.
Yes.
You know.
And it's beautiful in its own way.
Yes.
So y'all might be a little crazy, but you're still beautiful and you deserve some healing.
Come and get this healing.
Come and get this healing.
Right.
I like that. I put it on a shirt, baby. Come and get this healing.
Come and get this healing.
For $111, 111 Angel Night. I'm joking. That's what it seems like these days. I feel like it's really being trendy and commercialized.
Yeah.
They're taking mental health, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's not for us to sell. And of course, we have to make a living.
Yeah.
And I really respect people who do things like sliding scale. I see a lot of these coaches.
It's
and they're like,
difficult.
"What
That's
you can
another.
afford?"
That's another difficult part of my job, because I know that a lot of times I have to terminate working with families because they want to work with me outside of the program. And right now I don't take insurance. I'm working on my licensure process, and that takes years in New Jersey. Anyway, not all families can afford to pay me out of pocket. And then it's that question
of honoring yourself and respecting yourself.
But I have to eat too, and I have to provide for me and my family. And it's an energy exchange, you know, and,
Yeah.
you know, boundaries. And so while I would love to help the masses, I have to be realistic.
This is true too. And to each his own.
Yeah.
I appreciate, because it is the tools that we use when we charge people for services. Most times we learn those things on our own. You know what I mean? We didn't have to pay. We had to pay with our lives and our time and our traumas and stuff. But we've learned these lessons. So I feel like it's very beautiful. And you hand out gems. You handing out gems right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's free. This content is free.
Free game.
For
Free
now.
game Friday.
Yeah.
Free game Friday.
Right. So it's like you are still being a light and still passing it along.
Yeah. I definitely try to give back where I can. And that took me time too to create that boundary. Because people will use you up, child, if you let them.
Yes.
But that's for another show.
Come on, Jenny G.
That's for another show.
Yaya, your healing journey.
My healing journey. You know what's helped my healing journey? Be like, besides therapy, nature, definitely nature. Definitely go outside, get some vitamin D, take some macaroon, ashwagandha,
Adaptogens.
Cleanse yourself through clean foods, drink a lot of water. Things like that definitely help. But you know what I think helps the most too? A support system.
Yeah.
Definitely a support system. Sometimes it's hard to deal with certain things on your own. And sometimes you have to, you know, stick with people that are very understanding, that may relate to you as well. Because of the stigmas, you're going to have friends and family that are going to be like, ain't nothing wrong with you, girl. You strong. You're strong. Like, I don't know why you feel like that. Like, you all right. You're gonna be all right. Just smoke some weed. You'll be good. You're gonna get a lot of that. You're gonna get a lot of especially like suicidal thoughts. Oh my God. And I see a lot of different posts of people just kind of like crying for help. Like, they will say things that would be like a suicide threat. And I could see their little friends talking about, stop being a bitch. Stop playing.
Oh.
Yo, you being selfish right now. You got to think about your kids. This the life that you signed up for, especially like women with postpartum depression. And it's just like, really?
That is scary.
Yeah.
That's
It's have that tribe that you can vent to and talk to, because sometimes you can't post on social media. Sometimes you can't tell certain family and friends certain things. So definitely have that support system if you can't get a therapist right away. Yeah. Or you can do both.
Yeah. Balance. But the support, that is a very, very powerful. When I was going through my transition, I was coming out of a decade-long relationship with my children's father. I was, you were right there with me. You were one of those people in the mud with me. I had to recreate myself. I didn't know who the hell I was. I'm like, damn, I'm not just a mom now. Now I have to recreate, who am I outside of this long relationship? And it's like, people they're like, you're acting brand new. Who is this Carmen?
Yeah.
And it was very lonely and scary. But I could tell you, people started to show up in my life in way, like you said, we had always been cool and associates, but it wasn't until I was ready to step out on my own and recreate who I am that I was able to not cling to you in an unhealthy way, but just see things in you where it's like inspiration. Your support people around you. And go ahead.
Full circle moment. Do you remember when you were pregnant with your daughter and we were supposed to do a video?
I do remember.
And look at us tonight.
That's crazy. We manifested that.
No, but
we saw it happening.
But here's the thing. You just said you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready.
And look at that.
And we ready. See?
We
ready.
We ready. I had to point it out.
No, that's real shit. I remember you
canceled a couple times, and
yes.
I mean, yes, you were dealing with your pregnancy, but you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready. And a lot of people, we were talking about that earlier today. Some people just aren't ready. But when you are ready, the right people will show up. And that's the thing that makes it spiritual and divine, because the synchronicities, when you are in tune with who you are and you say, I'm tired of living this way and I know my life can be better. What can I do? The team shows up.
Honey.
And because of
you
the people
I was
very
clear with what you want. Yes.
Because of the people who
power
was
of the
around
tongue.
Me.
Yes.
We talked about that on the episode, Life, Death, and the Power of the Tongue.
Yeah.
But it was that support. They didn't judge me. Not all had spiritual views the same. Some were more religious than the other, but there was something there that I could freely speak and not feel crazy and not feel judged. And even sometimes now, me and Lionel, like I'll go to express myself and then I'll say, you know what? I feel like I'm complaining. He was like, girl, you ain't complaining. you're venting. You have to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's part of mental health.
And my trauma
Getting
would
it
make
out.
me feel like I'm dumping, or because I'm willing to sacrifice myself to make sure other people are comfortable. That was a part of my trauma too. But because I have real ass friends, they were like, girl, speak it, let it out, release.
Would you hold in if you had to use the bathroom?
No, see, and this is why I
and
love
that's
you.
energy. It's energy. You gotta
something that simple
Right.
analogy.
That's why. And I have 1,000 analogies because I work with a lot of kids. They'll be like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try this again, and then and then they'll be like,
you
oh,
put
okay.
it that way.
So does that make sense? Oh yeah. Miss Jen, aha moment. I love when they do that.
Wow.
So yeah, my babies.
That
They are
brings
my
me
babies.
to a part of healing, inner child work.
Oh,
You see how you just said, speaking to children, sometimes you really got to break it down and get simple, and get back to who you were as a little girl, the thing, or young man, whoever you were, things that brought you joy. Even me and you talked about it. You're like, sometimes you just have to really hug yourself and curl up in a blanket and hold yourself. And we talked about that.
Yeah.
weighted blanket, perfect for that.
Oh yes, I got one.
Beautiful.
Oh yes.
I don't have a weighted, I have a heated.
Weighted will change your life,
weighted.
sis. It will change your life.
Yes.
It literally, and you understand why babies like to be swaddled because that's what it feels like. Someone's holding you,
And that's endorphins. That's hormones. That's
last year, I think it was 5 and Below, who has not sponsored this podcast.
Ew, cut the check.
They were selling weighted blankets, I think for like $5 or $10. I can't remember. So I bought, I don't know, let's say a few $100 worth, and I was giving it out to my kids.
$10.
And all the parents would be like, "Oh my God, they're like knocked out." Like it really helps with anxiety and depression. I'm so sad they don't sell them anymore. I actually have another quick story about inner child healing. So I post a lot about inner child healing, and I often get questions. Well, where do I start? Where do I begin? That's a valid question, right? So I recently had a friend of mine say that to me, like, Jen, where do I start? And so I said, let's think back to you. What can you remember from your childhood that really bothered you about your parents?
Oh, see, I'm smiling because I'm like looking. I'm in my head. I'm seeing anthills.
He said, my parents never came to my games.
Wow.
So he went home. He had a conversation with his parents, and I'm happy to report, present day, he said, like, I have never felt better. Like, and that has continued this beautiful healing journey, not only with him but his whole family.
Wow.
It's never too late.
Having a voice, giving that inner child a voice.
Yes. And that's all. That's
Reparenting.
all that the inner child wants. It wants to be seen and heard and validated.
Yes.
What did you need in that moment? So my work right now also is very rewarding because I often find myself reparenting and providing a safe place for my inner child.
I love that.
And there's so many sessions where I'm like, oh,
I needed that.
Deep. Just simply like, well, what did you need in that moment? Or what were you feeling? How did that make you feel? How many times were our voice just like muted?
Because I said so. Stop crying if I give you something to cry
Stay
about.
out of a child. Stay in a child's place.
Yeah.
A child should not be seen or heard.
And that's crazy.
And how many things do we just internalize without even, now that as an adult, I'm like, oh my God. Like it was layers of stuff.
It really starts at home. Inner child. Definitely look into inner child healing, y'all. Shadow work, things like this, being able to have those tough conversations. And support your support team, who you keep around you, who you confide in, your environment. We talked about environment, things that change the paint. Connecting with your inner child. Go roll down a damn hill.
Switch your bedding around.
Yes.
Towels, your linen, wash them.
Yes. Something that I want us to wrap up with before we get into our affirmations, resources. How besides like your personal people that you pick, what are some resources for people who may be having a challenge with accepting symptoms, or they might recognize symptoms and not know where to start? What are some things that you can recommend as a professional to seek out?
So for the minority community, I love therapy for Black men, therapy for Black women. It's kind of like a
directory thing.
Yes, exactly, directory. I was going to say like a Facebook for mental health. But I can't even remember. There's so many different engines now I see on Instagram that you literally can type in what you want, and you want a female, a male, or if you have a color preference, that you can literally like order up whatever therapist you want right from your phone. I apologize, I don't have the names to those.
All good.
But start at Google. I mean, don't let it diagnose you, because Google will have you
thinking you about to
6
die.
feet under, right? But that's just a place to start. Like, I'm having these symptoms. What could it potentially be? Yeah. If like you have something in your family, or you might have experienced trauma, and you just kind of want to see like, what could this potentially be? Or go in for a free consultation.
Yes.
This doesn't hurt to, and there's, to your point, there's so many resources that will do sliding scale or even free therapy. So it really just depends.
And therapy, there's different names. There's coaching.
Yes.
There is mentoring. There's group therapies. There's different things. It doesn't have to be the traditional therapist.
And no one has to know. If you're still very uncomfortable, or you're scared of the stigma, no one has to know.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to, the stigma.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you know of any resources that you can give? Anything that helped you personally?
I was going to say the same thing. That's how, I actually seen a few people post that on Facebook, and I found a lot of different types of therapists. But my therapist, I've actually known her because I used to work at a daycare, and her twin daughters were like in my classroom.
Aww.
So yeah.
I do want to say, I'm really quick. Sorry. If nothing else fails, or you remember nothing else, just call 911 for crisis.
Yes.
Because, I can give you all the 800 numbers in the world, but at the end of the day, when you're in crisis, what are you going to remember? Like, that's the reality. Call 911, ask for your local crisis center, and they'll take it from there.
Ask for your local crisis center, not the police, y'all, because the police don't be equipped for that. They show up and then the day will go left, honey.
Yeah.
Not all the time,
no,
but we done seen.
Right.
Okay. So make sure you ask for the crisis.
Your local crisis center. It's okay to not be okay.
Boom.
Yes. And if you're I also wanted to address this too. If you're on the other side of mental illness, like if you have a friend that's experiencing these things, you may not have the answers or have the best advice, but be a good listener.
Yes.
Be a good listener.
Just be there. Just be.
Yeah. Like don't stigmatize it. Don't call us selfish for feeling certain ways. Like I seen something on Facebook and grind my gears. They were talking about one of the girls from Tyler's and Tierra. She was 16 years old and she committed suicide.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember what her name was, but she was only 16.
Wow.
Only 16 years old. And someone in the comments was just like, I don't care how hard life gets, I would never commit suicide. Who asked you? Yeah. That's not you. You're not helping the situation. Right. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people are going through. And the crazy part is people want to talk about, oh, you never know what people are going through. People got demons that they got to deal with. You probably could be the demon with talking like that.
Yeah. Right.
So be kind to people. Be kind to people. Be understanding. Be a listener. Yes.
Be empathetic.
Yes. Be empathetic.
I feel like the internet
research
has definitely desensitized us in a way where it's like it's hard for us to put ourselves in the person's shoes and say that could easily be us.
It's a gift and a curse, for sure.
Yeah. You never know. Like one of the girls that I mentioned, Miss America, she had high functioning depression.
Yeah.
No one would have never thought that she would have killed herself. You just don't know. You don't know. Everyone has a breaking point.
Yes, absolutely.
One resource that I want to share, something that has helped me on my journey, because I'm, a single mother with 2 kids and limited insurance, and me just being transparent. A lot of people aren't accepting my insurance, but YouTube University, and I'm not saying to just take anybody's words. Definitely there are therapists, there are motivational speakers, there are people with real credentials, scientists that give away so much information about mental health, emotional health, ways for you, and some are animated, they're quick, they're not long like speeches. There's so much information on YouTube that can definitely guide you and maybe throw some words out there and be like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar, and it'll take you down a rabbit hole of self-development. and mental.
That's a great point.
That's a good one too.
I mean, this healthcare system, that's a whole nother podcast.
It is really.
Yeah,
We
it's
should do
heartbreaking.
one with the health industry versus like an integrative, holistic approach to things. Be on the lookout for that. Boom. Announcement. Before we start doing our affirmations, the Warlock horse. Okay. We will be shooting on a weekly basis, dropping weekly episodes. We going places. Okay, so if you're tired of looking at us, get multi. Get used to it because we coming.
Prepare to be sick of me.
Prepare to be sick of us, okay? Because we here now. We here. Okay? And before we wrap it up, do any of you have anything to add? Because I want us to wrap up with some affirmations about just the empowerment of self-awareness and mental health and the healing journey.
Thank you again for having me. It's been fun.
Tell the people where they can find you.
Yes.
At Jendini, JENDINI.
Jendini. Got it. Follow her on Instagram.
Yeah, that's it.
Check the book out. You can get the book. I actually have it right here. It'll be crazy if this thing just dropped down on my head.
Don't manifest that.
I know. And I'm just manifesting. Y'all see my life come to life.
You can get The Choice Is Yours at Amazon and Barnes & Noble online. Yeah.
Okay. All right. The choice is yours. And we cannot stress that enough. Choice is a superpower. That really will set you up. The choices that you make set you up. Thank you. Thank you for this gift into this world.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
on that note, I'm going to get some instruments. Who want what?
Okay.
You get the maracas.
Okay. Thank you.
You
want the drum today or you want the
Yeah, I'll get the drum today because you know that bow be whooping my ass.
Here you are.
Yeah, I get a drum.
I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it looks fun.
We're not going to talk about the raptor hands, okay? We might. We got bloopers. Hold that thought. Insert it, Lionel, right now. Edit. All right.
I'm going to start charging now for performing.
Features. Let's go.
Yes.
All right, y'all. I'll kick it off with the affirmation.
Okay. I'm all off beat. I don't know what beat I'm on.
Am aware that anything that I go through can be transmuted and healed. Okay?
Hey.
Mental health is not a disease per se. It's health. Okay? Take care of yourself.
Right.
Next. What you got?
Ooh.
Okay.
I don't know what that was. I am more than what I go through.
Hey.
I am a valued human being. I was not placed here on accident. God has plans for me.
Bars.
I have a reason to live.
You belong here.
Yes, I belong here.
You belong here.
Yep. God designed me perfectly.
Ooh.
Yep. With a plan and a mission. So I have a reason to be here.
I love it.
And I won't let anything in this world make me feel like I have to go.
Ooh.
Okay, all right.
You belong here.
Yes.
Jenny?
All right. So this one always gets me like a little choked up. All right. I am enough.
Ooh.
Yes.
I am enough.
I've always been enough.
Ooh.
Yes.
Always been enough.
Always will be enough.
Ooh.
Yes.
Always will be enough.
I
Hi.
am enough.
Yes.
I'm enough. I love it, ladies.
Yes.
This has been another successful episode, guest edition of the Warlock Horse. Thank you for tuning in. Again, like, subscribe, share, leave your comments, leave your experiences. If anything resonated, share your story. You might inspire others.
Yes.
All right, ladies. Jenny G, thank you for coming.
Thank
Make
you
sure y'all
for
check her out.
having me.
Bye.
And we'll see y'all next time. We'll see y'all next Friday because we weekly in this thing.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.